Oh shit.
Come over, 15-year-old boy. The idea that
I didn't. I'm so mad, bro.
Gee.
Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the Cooler Master MM710 and the glorious Model O-. I'm going to try and make this review as short while also being as detailed as I can be. But yeah, this video might be a kind of long one. So starting off, both of these mice are $50, which means they're super good if you're on a budget. And if you are on a budget, you should definitely end up getting one of these mice, especially if you're fond of ambi mice. The MM710 is 53 grams, while the Model O- is 58. So the weight difference isn't going to be really apparent, but you can probably notice it in your hands if you're accustomed to lightweight mice. But it's not, the weight difference should not be the determining factor on whether or not you buy the mouse. So let's talk about build quality first. The MM710 originally had pretty bad build quality on their first batch, but my copy, I've had it for a few weeks now, and it has been on my desk constantly. It's either been my main or secondary mouse, regardless of what I've been doing, so I've been using it a lot, and the only issue is a bit of rattling, which honestly isn't even an issue. But the clicks, the no side flex, the only issue thus far has been a little bit of rattling, which doesn't affect you in game, so I say that the build quality is solid. The Model O-, I haven't used it as much, but from what I've heard, the build quality is really good, and I also haven't experienced as much issues with I haven't experienced any issues with the build quality. So no problems with build quality on either of the mice for me personally. But yeah, I'm gonna get that out of the way. So let's start off with the clicks. Both of these mice use Omron 20Ms. The MM710 has really solid, really crispy clicks. I like them a lot. Now the Model O-. The Model O- has very good clicks as well, but the MM710 does feel like it has crispier clicks, and I'm not sure why, but if you have both of these mice, you guys can definitely back me up on this. I'm not sure if it's going to pick up on the audio, because that tends not to happen because I have a shitty mic. But yeah, the MM710's clicks feel a lot crispier and lighter and more firm, but that doesn't mean the Model O-'s clicks are bad. But I'm going to give the edge to the MM710. Now the scroll wheel. The MM710 has a very skinny, rigid scroll wheel, similar to the one on the Ultralight 2, but it is skinnier. Or not the Ultralight 2, fuck, I'm retarded. The G Pro Wireless. You guys can hear it's very rough, very rigid, and in-game it's worked perfectly fine for me, but it does feel a bit on the rougher side, so if you guys don't like that, the scroll wheel is probably going to be a bit annoying to you. The Model O-'s scroll wheel is very quiet, has the defined steps, and a nice little rubber feel. It's I can't even say if it's similar to anything. Maybe the skull. I'd say it's closest to the skull, but it's pretty unique. If you guys have used the Model O or the Model D, it's the same scroll wheel as that. But yeah, it's very quiet. Scroll wheel's pretty hard to click down, but it does have some nice RGB on it. And the scroll wheel is very easy to click down on the MM710. But yeah, overall, I do prefer the feel of the Model O-'s scroll wheel, but the scroll wheel on the MM710 isn't bad either. So the side buttons. The side buttons on the MM710 are good. They have a pretty hollow sound, but they still are easy to click down, good for building in Fortnite, and easy to click in general. The only issue is that they are pretty sharp towards the middle, if you guys can understand what that means. So they do give off a sort of weird feel, but it's nothing awful. They're very usable in game, but they definitely could be better. The Model O minuses, they have they have a good bit of pre-travel. You guys can hear that springy noise when I'm not even clicking it down. This is just because Glorious really hasn't been able to do the side buttons very well on any of their mice aside from the Model D, but you can still use them for building in Fortnite, while it will be a challenge of sorts. And they are super small in general, which does make them a bit hard to press, but the height is perfectly fine. So I'm going to give the side buttons to the MM710, but the side buttons on both of these mice aren't great. So now let's get into the cable. Both of these mice have super flexible cables. The Model O minus obviously has a different cable from the original Model O cable, which is good because that cable sucked dick. It's flexible, it's not very stiff. It's something between like it's kind of like the Ultralight 2 cable if it was less stiff. And yeah, it's flexible. I haven't had any issues with it in game, and overall a solid cable. The same can be said for the MM710, except the cable's definitely a lot more flexible and also a little bit more fat. It's most similar to a G-Wolves cable, like the ones on the Hottie and the Skull, and I like it a lot. Both of these cables, virtually the same performance in game. I can't say which one's better, both of them are really good. That's it for the top of the mouse. Obviously both of them have DPI buttons. Getting into the bottom of the mouse, both of these mice have 100% virgin grade PTFE feet, and they perform essentially the same. The only difference I've noticed is that my Model O minus is a bit faster on my mouse pad, while the MM710 is a bit smoother. I know you guys like the little fucking glide test, so I'll just give one of those. I do use the Thor pad. A lot of people ask that. I don't know how. I've used it so often. But yeah, the MM710, it's not quite as fast, but it definitely does feel a lot more smooth while you're using it in game. And the sensors, the Model O minus uses a 3360, while the MM710 uses a 3389, and on paper, the MM710 has the better sensor, but in-game performance has been the exact same. Obviously, no tracking issues, no literally no issues. Flawless performance from both of the sensors. So yeah, that's it for the aspects of the mouse, and now we're going to talk about the biggest difference, which is shape. So you guys see that the Model O minus is a lot longer of a mouse and also more narrow. This makes it better for fingertip grip, and if you have really small hands, you might be able to venture into the other grips. But you guys can see that the MM710 is a short but fat mouse, and it also has the high hump. So you guys probably think that it being short is going to cause an issue like it does on the Ultralight 2, but it really doesn't, because this hump fills up a large portion of your hand. It basically forces you into a claw grip, and yeah, it's a really comfortable shape in my opinion. The grip that it forces me into is actually a lot more comfortable than the fingertip grip I tend to use with most mice. And yeah, when I use this mouse with about 19 by 8.5 hands, it feels really solid. It feels like the perfect shape for me, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. The Model O minus, on the other hand, you guys know that I wasn't very fond of the Model O's shape, and having a smaller version of that shape isn't awful, but I just don't have enough room for my pinky, and it is too small for me. While I find that I can actually use the Ultralight 2 very well with a fingertip grip. I'm assuming the reason that I succeed with the Ultralight 2 but not the Model O- is because of the length, but really I just think that this mouse is going to be a lot too narrow for most people. You're going to need really small hands in order to succeed with this mouse, because even if you fingertip grip, it's just going to wind up being too narrow. So if you have super small hands, this mouse is going to be good for you, but if you have medium to large hands, this mouse is going to be better for you. Obviously, if you play a claw grip, this mouse is going to be basically like the claw grip user's dream. And if you play a fingertip grip like I do, you can try to stick it out, or you can just go into the grip it forces you into, which I've found to like a lot. So overall, I'd say that the MM710 it's for me personally, it's a 10 out of 10 mouse. It's the best mouse I've ever used, I'd say its overall rating is around a 9 out of 10 because not everybody's gonna be in love with the shape. The Model O-, I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10 mouse. The shape isn't gonna work well with most people, and the side buttons do suck. But everything else is pretty good on this mouse. So as I said before, small hands, Model O-, medium to large hands, MM710. It's pretty simple. Both of these mice are really good, especially for $50. These are mice that you're going to get for $50 and not need to modify whatsoever, which is just crazy. That's super good. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, if it was helpful, make sure to like, sub, and turn post notifications on.